Welcome back. President Trump is weighing whether to abandon the landmark Paris Agreement negotiated by more than 130 countries, including the U.S. It aims to make the air less deadly, obviously, and to prevent the most catastrophic consequences of global warming. But Thursday, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson contradicted the administration, signing an international declaration stressing the importance of agreements like this one and tackling climate change. Now, in more controversy about the role of science in the Trump administration, two expert advisors to the Environmental Protection Agency have resigned in protest over the agency's decision to dismiss 9 of the 18 scientists on a key science review board. Let's bring in now one of the experts who just resigned, Dr. Peter Meyer. Dr. Meyer, welcome to you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Oh, no, I guess I'm not happy.
Oh, well, yeah, for the reason you're here. Let me read a part of this letter that you submitted along with the other doctor who resigned, and let's put it up on the screen. We have deep concerns about the leadership at the EPA and its continued obfuscation of scientific evidence and the research enterprise. Tell us, what are your concerns?
Well, our concerns are simply that, as from what we've been able to tell with regard to the actions to dismiss, or more accurately, let's be specific here, it's actually not renew the appointments of 9 members of the Board of Scientific Counselors to the Office of Research and Development at EPA, that they were not renewed even though when they came on board, which is true of Dr. Martin and myself, we were told that we had a 4 to 5 year assignment, which meant we all expected to be renewed after our initial 3-year terms were up. The fact that they didn't do that has created a sense that they don't want to hear from us anymore.
So let me read the response here from a spokesperson for the EPA to the Washington Examiner. Advisory panels like this board, the Board of Scientific Counselors, play a critical role reviewing the agency's work. EPA received hundreds of nominations to serve on the board, and we want to ensure fair consideration of all the nominees, including those nominated who may have previously served on the panel, and carry out a competitive nomination process. They say that essentially this is typical of a board like this. You say to that what?
I say to that you don't bring us on board giving us an assignment, which was true of the entire subcommittee on sustainable and healthy communities, of which Dr. Martin and I were, Martin and I were members. You don't give us an assignment that says it's going to be 4 years long or 5 years long, and then turn around and not renew our leadership after the first 3 years are up. We've learned how to work together, as is true of any kind of a team. Once one learns to work together, the team is weakened when you take away, certainly, its leadership. In our particular case, we're dealing with an incredible mix of different kinds of disciplines, and it takes a little bit to be able to work together.
But besides the personalities of getting to work together and these specific members and leadership of this council, do you believe that this EPA, that this administration does not want to hear from scientists?
I'm increasingly convinced of that, yes.
And what's the evidence?
The evidence is, the most obvious piece of evidence that I can offer you is the proposed budget for the EPA for the 2018 fiscal year, the one that begins October 1. That proposes a 40% reduction in the appropriations for the Office of Research and Development, which is the branch of EPA charged with making sure that what EPA does is based on sound science.
What do you make of this Fairbanks declaration that Secretary Tillerson signed this week with all of the countries with Arctic territory that cites the importance of reducing greenhouse gases and pollutants while the administration weighs withdrawing from the Paris Agreement?
I can't make sense of the two things simultaneously. They don't make any sense to me. If you're going to try and pursue the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in the Arctic, why not pursue it elsewhere in the world, which is basically what the Paris Agreement is about?
But do you think the administration potentially is backing away or reconsidering what the president and then candidate Trump talked about during the campaign, canceling the agreement? After the election, he said he had an open mind to it, and now they've delayed this announcement that was pending on whether or not they would stay in it. Are you reassured by that?
I can't say that I'm reassured because, bluntly, this administration is totally unpredictable. I would like to think that this is a hopeful sign. I'm certainly pleased with the position of the secretary with regard to the Fairbanks Agreement, but that still doesn't tell me what's going to happen with regard to the Paris Agreement. Look, I'm an economist. I think that backing out of the Paris Agreement is not just environmentally foolish or hazardous, but it's also not exactly something that is going to strengthen the United States in its trade negotiations with any of the other parties to the agreement. You're simply alienating the rest of the world, and that doesn't make any sense to me as an economist.